Yo, what up, Knicks Nation? Welcome back. You know, we had to take a little break, man. We were away. We're out in Summer League, out in Vegas doing the damn thing, But we're back here. We're here to talk about the New York Knicks and the offseason that's here during the dog days of the NBA offseason. Everybody is on break. Even the captain himself. He's in King's Landing, going to practice with the trainer, getting ready for the next Knicks Twitter day. You see him breathing heavily like he just climbed up, to get up there. But hey, he's going to get ready. Don't worry, people. Don't worry. Knicks chick will make sure that he gets home safe and sound. But we're going to cover the Knicks tonight. That's what we're here to do. With me on the other side is my guy, Dexter Henry. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button for your boy. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, okay? We got some topics for you tonight. So let's get into all of this stuff. Dexter, how you feeling, man? It's been a minute.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. I feel good. It's just hot outside, humid. But listen, I tell people all the time, I'll take that over the cold. I don't do the cold. My Caribbean self does not do the cold at all whatsoever. But I'm good, man. It's interesting time. You and I were talking about this because, we're at this point. We're almost at August. We're like, training camp's not here. That's about, 8 weeks away. We're just waiting to get back in a full basketball mode, man. But I'm good. How you doing? You good?
I'm doing all right, man. As we were talking about off stage, it's the dog days of summer. So we're just trying to, we're just waiting at this point. And I'll say this. I enjoy the Knicks being good because when we had to worry about draft coverage, that was really some dog days, man. It took a long time. But now next thing you know, look, we got August. It's about to be August 1st this week. September's right there. Training camp starts up. Before you know it, we get preseason basketball in October, end of September, beginning of October, and then we're right back into the thick of things. So, look, man, going to enjoy the summer as it is while it's quiet, okay? But
quiet is good sometimes.
It is good, man. Look, when it was sometimes it was too quiet being a Knicks fan, and sometimes it was too active, too loud. We don't need all that, man.
Or the fans were too stressed because it's like, this year you kind of got to chill with the draft, and even summer league was, you're like, all right, maybe I'll see a little bit from Dottier, see a little bit from Kolek. It wasn't you weren't stressed out like I needed somebody to really show out. It'd be nice, but it wasn't that stressful. So look, the team is mostly set. Now you're just praying for good health and see what they could do with the new head coach.
For sure, man. See what we can do with the new head coach, which is Mike Brown. And hey, let's get into the first topic of tonight, bro. We're going to talk about the coaching staff update, and there was quite a bit of updates for the coaching staff. As we all know, if you're there at Summer League, if you're just tapped in, the entire Tom Thibodeau coaching staff was out there, and you're like, okay, so is everyone just returning with Mike Brown? What's going on here? But shout out to Stephen Bondi, colleague of yours over at the New York Post. He said with Mike Brown assembling his staff and restructuring the bench, league sources told the Post that Andy Greer, Dice Yoshimoto, Daniel Brady, and Othello Harrington will not be returning to the Knicks next season. Even Thibodeau's son will not be returning as well. And so this is Mike Brown assembling his new coaching staff. He wants to feel comfortable with the guys who he believes can help the Knicks get to the promised land. So not interesting that after Summer League, you're now seeing the exodus of some of the, Tom Thibodeau coaching staff like mainstays. And then according to Steve Popper of Newsday, holdovers expected to be back on Mike Brown's staff: Rick Brunson, Darren Erman, Mark Bryant, and Mo Cheeks and Jordan Brink. So those guys will be returning. So we know that some of the Thibodeau coaching staff will be returning. Some of them will be gone. And then to add on to that, we have Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype reporting that the New York Knicks are expected to add Charles Allen to their coaching staff. League sources told Hoops Hype. Knicks head coach Mike Brown and Allen worked together previously on the Sacramento Kings. Brown is also expected to add Ricardo Foyes, whom he worked with in Sacramento as well. So there's two new names right there that will be added to the coaching staff. As we mentioned, the guys who are leaving, some of the mainstays. So it looks like we have Mike Brown doing his own due diligence to see who he wants to fill out the bench, man, for the coaching staff and how he's, like I said, going to take this team to the promised land. What are your thoughts on all these changes so far?
Yeah, I mean, some of these changes, I expected this. You kind of knew the names that would stay. I think Mark Bryant was one I thought would stay. He obviously being the big man's coach, he did a lot of work with Towns. If you've been around the Knicks early before these games, Towns was always on the floor working with him a lot and has credited him a lot. So I expected that. Some of the other staff members, Daish Hashimoto, ran the summer league team the last couple of years. I mean, young players talked glowingly about working with him, but want to bring in their guys. That's just how it goes. They're going to want to bring in their guys, their voices. I think a lot of the couple of guys that have come in, some of them will be on the front bench, not on the back bench. I think the real question I think a lot of Knicks fans will know is who's going to be the lead assistant on his team. Who's going to be the lead assistant, associate head coach? We know Rick Brunson is as much in the staff as he did. I think that only made sense for Mike Brown. You couldn't have somebody, I think, that was that close to Tom Thibodeau. Not saying you can't have him on the staff, but also I think that the optics of him being Jalen's dad and all that, I don't think that plays the same way. I think Mike Brown has to do the right thing. He has to get his guys in here. I'm just really intrigued as to who he brings in as associate head coach, or the person that's really going to lead things on offense to help him with that. I think that's the most intriguing thing for me here. Look, I know the Knicks went after names, Alex, James Borrego. They tried to get some other names they had interest in, and I know people are like, oh man, they struck out again. Look, some of these guys, it was going to be hard to get. Pablo Prigioni, obviously another one. It was going to be hard to get with some of these guys under contract, and coaches like that generally are not going to make lateral moves. Prigioni wouldn't have been a lateral move, so he'd have been up, but he cited, and Ian Begley reported this for Best and Why, that it's a lot of it was for family reasons, and probably didn't want to uproot his family and stuff at this time, which you can understand. But I think Mike Brown will get a right guy. I don't think it matters whether you get the first guy or whatever. I think it matters you get the right person, and I think Mike Brown will get the person that fits him and is going through the list. And I would have loved Borrego. I think Borrego's a good coach. I think he would have fit in nicely for the Knicks, but it wasn't going to happen coming from New Orleans as a lateral move. So we'll see what they do. But I think that's the biggest thing for me. Who do they hire as their associate head coach or lead head coach? That's going to be lead assistant under Brown. But I think he's going to want somebody that also shares a lot of his offensive vision in there. And I think we'll see that. For me, last thing I'll say, Alex, is I'm most excited about what Mike Brown can do for this offense. I do think it's his job here is to try to maximize this offense. I think the Knicks have talent on offense, a lot of talent. We saw they were top 5 offense last year, but never really maximized. I think the other thing I should say is how do they modernize the offense? Because I think a lot of criticisms you saw from fans and people like myself, even in the media, offense looked really archaic under Tibbs. It needed to modernize, and I'm really intrigued to see how Brown does that with the talent that he has on his roster.
Absolutely. I'm very curious to see how he does that as well. And I mean, it's like what you see in football, right? Where you go from a defensive minded head coach to an offensive minded head coach. Like as a Jets fan, I've seen that multiple times. Go from, Rex Ryan to, you bring in, well, they went to Todd
Adam
Bowles, another
Gase.
defensive guy. Adam Gase is the example. You go from Todd Bowles to Adam Gase. And you're like, all right, guys. And then you go back to Saleh. Now, look, man, I get it. But you know what? At the end of the day, you're trying to look for the right guy. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to look for the right guy. And even with, some people being uneven. And look, I'm trying to be indifferent to the Mike Brown hire just because, look, I know that he has a winning record. I know that he's been fired from a lot of places. We've seen him be coach high, superstars, I should say, in this league. And so he has the resume where he is for the job. Now, he wasn't the Knicks' first choice, but you never know. Just because you weren't the first choice doesn't mean you can't come through and succeed. So that's in the middle. I'm not over the top for the Mike Brown hire, but I'm also not like, oh, he's the worst hire ever. I'm more of a wait and see at this point. And that's how I'm trying to take the approach with the rounding out of the coaching staff. I mean, for the most part, do we really know all these coaches' philosophies that's joined the staff? For the most part, no. We can only know as much as what is reported on them and the little bit that they've done on throughout all their journeys from potentially from college to the pros, all of that stuff. So, look, it didn't work out for the guys that you want to get. Borrego, we know Darvin Ham, his name was thrown out there too. Now you talk about Pablo Prigioni, as was brought up by Ian Begley, and I have it right here just so that we can get it out there and everyone knows. It said, according to Ian Begley, amid interest from the Knicks, Minnesota assistant Pablo Prigioni decided to stay with the Timberwolves, citing family reasons. League sources told SNY. One coach squarely on New York Knicks' radar for assistant job under Mike Brown. Clippers assistant coach Brendan O'Connor. League sources told SNY O'Connor has strong defensive acumen, has worked for the Clippers under Ty Lue and Doc Rivers. Knicks had previously targeted James Borrego, as you mentioned, Dallas's Jay Triano, Prigioni, and others for assistant position under Brown. They will presumably continue to look for an assistant to help on offense, even if they add O'Connor to help guide the defense. And look, I know we're talking about offense and trying to modernize it. The defense also has to be good too, because prior to Mitchell Robinson getting back, we know the defense was middling, wasn't great. But then with Mitchell Robinson's return during the postseason, we did see it start to tick up and saw the impact that Mitchell Robinson has as being that last line of defense. So I'm not, upset with the idea of going after O'Connor. I know there's some conversation out there saying, why are we going for a defensive guy? But it's only to add to the staff while they're still looking for someone offensively too.
Yeah, it's not even like that report says that O'Connor would be like the lead assistant. I think you're gonna see somebody from under Brown that's gonna be like the defensive coordinator, and he'll probably go get an offensive guy as well too. Maybe one of them will be the lead assistant or associate head coach. But I think having both, what I'm a fan of when you're building out your staff is, I think a lot of coaches, I know this, they want comfortability with guys that they know and they trust to, especially when you get into the lower end of the bench, I should say, in terms of player development and that kind of stuff. That's what they want. The other thing is, can you get guys that come from good systems? O'Connor's coached under Doc Rivers and Ty Lue. Ty Lue, I think many people will consider a top coach in this league. He is a fantastic coach. He's done a great job. So I absolutely like guys that come from good systems. It's part of the reason I will say I'm kind of with you, Alex. I wasn't like over the moon about Mike Brown. I like the hire. I do think because I think he's a balanced coach. He came in as a defensive coach. He learned a lot in Golden State offensively. You saw what he did to maximize the Kings offense. That team does not have even the defensive talent I would say the Knicks have, even though the Knicks have some defenders that are not necessarily the strongest. I think he's working with more defense here. He's a balanced coach. He's coached top defenses. He's coached the top offense. I think he's got good versatility that can help this Knicks roster. Was I over the moon about the hiring? No, but I think it's a good one. I don't think it's bad. And I think anybody who tells you they know whether it's good or bad, they don't know. There's no lock or guarantee with coaches, right? Like this isn't you're getting Kerr or Pop or, Pop's out, Pop's done now, against Spoelstra. There's no guarantees with this stuff. A lot of it is fit and what can they get for the roster, and we'll see. And if you think there was a better coach you could have got out there, you could say that, but you don't know that. I think a lot of people have spoken as though they know. I think it's a fine hire. I don't think you were going to get any hire that was really sexy or was going to really excite the fan base. Maybe if you went with Johnny Bryant, maybe if you went that route. But I also understand with the expectations for this team and where they are next season, why the Knicks were not going to go that route with a young head coach, rookie head coach in his first year, with the expectation for this team in New York, where you have to be the mouthpiece because Leon Rose and company, they don't talk to the media. Are you going to put Johnny Bryant out there? And I listen, I like the possibility of Johnny Bryant. I liked going with a young and new voice, but I also understand the reasons why that didn't happen. Look, I think Mike Brown is suited to coach the Knicks. I don't know how it's going to play out. And here's the thing. I've been saying this on my show over and over again. You can't get crazy about the regular season. How we judge Mike Brown fairly is going to be what happens in the postseason. That's what it's going to come down to. Does he get the job done? Does he get this team over the hump? Does he get them to the finals? Is there a lot of pressure on him? Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of pressure on the team. It's not just Mike Brown, but the Knicks
for
have
sure.
the Knicks have a damn good team. They can absolutely get to the finals. And if you're a Knicks fan, you want to say, "Hey, there's nobody in the East that I fear right now." I feel you. You should feel that way.
Hey, after all the injuries that we saw unfold this
Mhm.
postseason run to the Pacers, you don't have Halliburton. For the Celtics, you saw they just dismantled their team. They traded Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. You have Tatum out for essentially the entire season, so he's going to miss time. And then you start looking down who it's going to be the Cavs. Yeah, the Magic made some moves. They're an intriguing team. I don't expect them to make such a massive leap that they will be in the top 4 of the East. And then the Atlanta Hawks, they're intriguing as well, but you're talking about relying on KP's health as well as Jalen Johnson coming back healthy. There's a lot of what ifs, and so I think Knicks fans have every right to be confident entering this season, considering, look, your team ended last year being healthy. They're going to be one of the healthiest teams entering the season while getting some rest. You're not doing any Olympic runs or anything like that, so guys get to strictly relax, do some training during the offseason, get to, just relax their bodies, nothing taxing out there, right? And I'm looking forward to what they can do once the season starts. So I think they're in a really good position, and that's why I believe Knicks fans should have every right to be, a little bit bold and brash right now while going into this year saying, hey, you know what? If it's us in Cleveland, that's probably the last 2 it should be based on how everything unfolded. We were not too far away from making the NBA Finals. We're talking about 2 wins away, right? So I think there's a lot to be confident in. And to your point, that's why there's a lot of pressure for Mike Brown. And look, I don't like I would have been cool with a young hire like a Johnny Bryant. I can't remember the name right now, but Nori from the Timberwolves. I've been cool with that type of hire.
Yeah.
Yep. I wouldn't fight with a young hire because I think at the end of the day, anyone who takes this job is going to have a lot of pressure. Whether you're a seasoned coach, whether you're a new coach, the expectation is, can you get them back next year? If you don't, what's the reason for why you didn't get back to the Eastern Conference next year? But you're going to be looked at to get to the NBA Finals regardless. And I think why they went with the seasoned head coach is because they want someone who has that experience who won't buckle under pressure, which you may get that from a young head coach. Maybe, you never know, right? There's a lot of unknowns. So we'll see, man. But I'm looking forward just to get back to it because I know this is about the assistant coaches and like who they're looking for. Like, what do you like offensively? Things got to change. Like, I want to see that happen. That goes to the lineups, right? Talk about the lineups. We're going to talk about that in a second. But offensively, this team has to be better than last year. They started out hot, but they got cold, man. And so, if you're looking for the assistant head coach and you're going through this process, what's the one thing you'd have to say if you're making that hire? What's the one thing you want to see? I know Mike Brown talks about playing fast, and so we did out at Sacramento. But is there anything in particular that you're looking for that you would say you want to look for in that next associate head coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the next associate head coach, a guy that's going to come in terms of the offense, what I want to see and what I would like to see Mike Brown implement, particularly a lot of what he did that was good in Sacramento to me was a lot of what he was able to do with the actions with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Now, I think Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are much better offensive players than those guys, but I love the actions that he put him in. A lot of dribble handoff action, a lot of 1-5 pick and roll, a lot of letting Sabonis operate out the high post. Now Sabonis is a brilliant passer. Cat, I think, is a better passer out the high post than some people give him credit for. I think he's an underrated passer, but can you utilize that a little bit more? And then the other thing for me is because we're talking about a situation with some of the dribble handoffs and some of the 1-5 pick and roll situations. That's where Jalen Brunson's probably going to have the ball a lot in his hands. But I want to see some off-ball action for Jalen Brunson. I want to see some minutes where Mikal Bridges is, whether it's leading the second unit, whether you're running some of the offense through him, getting Jalen Brunson involved in some movement off the ball. So the offense just isn't as predictable. Everybody here, I know the fans in the chat, you, Alex, you've watched. The Knicks offense was very, very predictable over the last couple of years. In fact, late in games, you knew exactly what was coming. You and I could have said what was coming, right? And I think it's got to be more diverse. I think there's got to be more off-ball action. I think we got to see a lot of more, pin down action. I think you're going to see some of that. So I want somebody that's got a sharp offensive mind, that is going to be creative, that's going to put guys in the right position to succeed. And look, the part of that is like all that stuff sounds cool. What you got to do is you got to get guys willing to buy into that, because it is a change. And some guys, whether it's Jalen Brunson, whether it's whoever you want to say on the team that's been here for a little bit, Josh Hart, some guys have been playing a certain way for a long time. So now you're going to change some of that. But I think once those guys buy into and winning and gets easier shots and touches, and this can open up stuff for other guys, whether it's like Deuce McBride, whether it is for OG Anunoby. I think things can open up for them. Is there just more fluidity, more creativity? But those are the things I really want to see. Some dribble handoff action, especially in the 1 and 5. I feel like we didn't get enough of that. Enough 1-5 action with Brunson and Cat. The numbers, when you looked at their pick and roll numbers, it was fantastic. I'm forgetting it off the top of my head. I had a glass of which I pulled it up, but their numbers were fantastic in the pick and roll, but it wasn't used that often. It wasn't something that Tom Thibodeau used a lot. We didn't see a lot of 1-5 action. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. I think if you guys, talking to the fans, if you look back at some stuff with Domantas Sabonis, with De'Aaron Fox, so again, I do not think those players are as good offensively as Cat and Brunson, but they did great things out in Sacramento. You wonder, wow, there could be a world of possibility of what we could see here with some of that 1-5 action with Cat and Brunson. So I'm looking for, you got to maximize that, especially because we know both of those guys are the weak links on defense in terms of the starting lineup. You got to maximize them offensively. And if you can get a good rate, whether it's over 1 point per possession when you're using those pick and rolls with them, that's going to bode well for the Knicks, man. So that's really what I want to see. It's just fluidity for other guys off the ball. Let other guys get involved. Take some stress off of Jalen Brunson. He can't be worn down, by the end of the game or the end of the season. I think that's the biggest thing. We talk a little bit about minutes, and I know that's been a huge hot button topic throughout the Knicks, and we talked about the minutes, please. But I think about how players are playing those minutes, how stressful they are. Are they, are they just standing around? Are they frustrated? Is it just way too much ISO ball? I think in today's game, you have to have more fluidity. You got to have more motion. You got to get other people involved, and you got to keep the defenses guessing as to what's happening. You can't be as predictable. So that's what I want to see. Sorry, that was a lot. That was a long answer, but that's what I'd like to see out of the offense.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Dexter. So I agree with you on everything that you said. And look, I mean, we can even see what's funny is that we saw a lot of that at the beginning of the season with the Knicks, right? And then it just after the turn of the calendar, literally the turn of the calendar year, like January 1st to the end of the regular season, Knicks offense just fell off a cliff. And for people to know where the Knicks offense was, beginning of last season, from October 22nd, from when the season started, to December 31st. So that was October 22nd, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. Knicks were second in the league with an offensive rating just behind the Cavs. Cavs had 121.3. Knicks had 120.1. For the new year, to finish off the NBA regular season from January 1st, 2025 till April 2025, the Knicks dropped from being second, averaging 120.1 offensive rating, to being 16th, averaging 115.4. Now, yes, one can point out that for about a month to 6 weeks, you didn't have Jalen Brunson.
Right.
But regardless, you still had enough offensive firepower on this team with Mikal Bridges, Karl-Anthony Towns, that you should have been able to, hold your own and still put up enough points even without Jalen Brunson, right? That's the whole point why you go get Bridges. And even what you saw during the beginning of the season, you say, hey, OG can, explode for 40 points. Josh Hart's 20 points feel like 40-point games. Like, this team is more than capable of doing that. How come that couldn't be sustained even after losing Jalen Brunson? So this is where I'm asking for the same thing that you were talking about, Dexter. I want to see a little bit more creativity, keep everybody involved. And I think the biggest thing for me is, how do you get Cat to shoot more threes this year? Because that was a massive drop off from averaging 8 3-point attempts to 4 under Tibbs. You didn't really utilize the stretch big that you went out and got to open up the floor for everybody. It seemed like it was a constant battle, even in the postseason. Just watching all those games going up against the Indiana Pacers, I know, like, it's like, yo, we just made the Eastern Conference Finals. Why do we care about this? Like, because it wasn't easy, man. It was not easy when you watch those playoffs. You're like, why are we in these games where it's like 1-2 points and like we had to come back from being down to go win them? Like, that's not how you win championships, man. But great, hell of a storyline to say this team was able to overcome such deficits, but at some point you get exhausted when you have to play from behind. And then the other thing for me, man, is just get Bridges involved. Like, I just felt like Bridges was like an afterthought in so many ways under Tom Thibodeau, which you can't invest this much into a guy and then have such an up and down where the guy can average 40 on Christmas Day, and then next thing you know, if he gets 7 points, it's like, wow, how do you even get 7 points? How many shots did he take? And you see it's like 3 attempts. It's like, why is he only taking 3 attempts? Why are we letting Jalen Brunson have to do all the work and put up like 30 attempts just to help us win a game, right? So that's the stuff that I want to see. That's the stuff I definitely want to see.
I love that you mentioned the cat threes, man. Because I thought that's something that needs to increase. I would say I think that was a huge part of the decline of the offense. I think also Josh Hart's unwillingness to shoot didn't help the offense a lot too. He's got to be better. Mikal Bridges, one thing I will say, I've been saying this, I feel very good about Mikal Bridges having a good season this year offensively. I feel really good about that. Now, look, he shot the ball efficiently, still in mid-range. I think he needs to be more aggressive at times on offense. His defense came along as the season went further, and we saw it in the playoffs. He was good defensively. I think Mike Brown's going to utilize him differently, a lot better. He's not just going to be standing in corners. I think he'll be a lot better. But I do agree with the 2 points you made. I think those things are key to unlocking the offense. Cat's got to shoot more threes. You got stretch big. You got to put more pressure on the defense, especially against good defensive teams. He has to be a weapon. And yeah, Mikal Bridges has to be more fluid in the offense, better utilized. And I think he's got the skill set to do it. I think Mike Brown can get a lot out of him. I'm actually very confident Mikal Bridges is going to have a good season. I don't know why per se, but I think he's going to thrive under Mike Brown.
There we go. Dexter saying give the most improved award this year.
Oh,
Bridges.
That's early. But hey, yeah, let's go. Do it. Let's do it.
But hey, you know, season's got to come around first. You know, we'll see what happens. But it's all going to start with what does the lineup look like, and we're about to get into that. But salute to Knicks Nation. Thank you all for tuning for another Knicks Weekly. With me on this side is my guy Dexter Henry. You can go catch him over at NewYork.Game. All right, through the New York Post. Does phenomenal work over there. I know you people know him, but make sure to give him a follow. Make sure to subscribe to his channels. Make sure to support him and everything that he does. And shout out to everybody for tuning in today, catching this show live. All right, I see we got some of the regulars in here. We got KG Sevenfold. We got William J. Bowman in here. Shout out to you for being a franchise channel member. Who else we got? We got Mr. Catch 22. Shout out to you for being a franchise channel member. Oh, there's my guy, TM, the Chief Modern Operation, always around. You know he's always doing the damn thing. We got Jack City in here. Shout out to you for being a franchise channel member too. We got John Talento, Junior Caroma. These guys are always here. Never miss a show. Shout out to all you guys. We got Eric O. Beats, the resident DJ for KFTV. Shout out to you,
Eric.
too, my man. Shout out to you too, my man. Thank you for all being here. And hey, today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. People, look, we still got summer left. We all know we like to hang outside, even if you're in New York with a little bit of real estate that they give you. I know it's expensive out there, but hey, we got to make do with what we got. And so whether you're grilling, you got some lawn chairs back there, you can always upgrade with how? By going to Wayfair and go getting those lawn chairs, go getting those, those lounge couches that you want to do. Just to hang out back in your backyard, chill with everybody, invite everyone over for a drink, put something on the grill, burgers, dogs, whatever you're all into, man. It's a good time. And Wayfair is there to help you do so, okay? Wayfair is there to help you support you in all your needs that you need by making sure your outdoor setup is maximized to its full potential. So make sure to go support Wayfair, okay? Shop outdoor furniture, grills, lawn games, and way more for way less. Head to Wayfair.com right now to explore a huge outdoor selection. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. All right, make sure to go support our sponsor, Wayfair. Okay, let's get back into it. And hey, for everyone out there, make sure to call in through the Discord today because we do want to hear some of your takes on what you think about the coaching, lineup changes. Yuri, I see you on the line, man. We got you. We're going to go through another segment before we take your call. But if you do want to talk to Dexter and me make sure to come through the Discord. TM, if you could be oh so humble and grateful, and drop the link in the chat so that people can get through. That'd be much appreciated. All right, Dexter, let's talk about these lineups, man.
Oh man,
our guy Christian Winfield and Ian Begley, talking about lineup changes. All right, Christian Winfield wrote a wonderful article through the Daily News, talking about lineup changes, and cited Ian Begley. And so let me pull up the quote and make sure we get it right. So he says that there's already internal support to keep the same starters, according to one SNY's Ian Begley. And the whole article is talking about the looming extension for Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson. And the lineup that they're talking about is the one that we saw in the postseason with the double big: Karl Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Jalen Brunson. That is the lineup that we're talking about that's getting a good amount of internal support. All right. Dexter, what do you think about that? Are you looking forward to that? Do you want to see that lineup, or would you like to see the same starting lineup that we had at the beginning of season last year with, instead of Mitchell Robinson, is Josh Hart?
I would like to see Josh Hart go to the bench. I think he'll be better with the second unit, playing with Clarkson. I think the question it comes down to is, do you want to play with Mitch? Do you want to play McBride? I've been really on the fence about this, Alex. I've thought about it a lot. Part of me wants to see more of the lineup with McBride because the data was so good. Yeah, because the data was so good. But my concern with that, to be very clear and transparent, is you're a little bit too small in the backcourt. We know McBride is a tremendous defender, but you're giving up a lot of size in the backcourt. You go with Mitch. You saw how that helped the team in the playoffs. You saw this lineup work pretty well. I think the reason I'm more comfortable going with Mitch is because of the additions they made in Yabusele and Clarkson. We know the bench is not as weak as it was last year. The bench, they had no bench last year, and you saw it in the playoffs. Some games they were in single digits bench scoring. It was not positive.
That was ugly.
So because of that, I'm more inclined to start Mitch. I think the other thing about starting Mitch that I will say to that is that tells me if there's internal support for that, that also tells me that they trust Hokporty to get those play some backup minutes, and they think that he's ready to do so. And I think that's huge for them if he is ready to do so. I like Hokporty. I think there's a lot of value in that. I also this is, especially if Hokporty plays well and Mitch is extension eligible. Are you maybe thinking about moving on from Mitch? Do you want to extend him? There's a lot to think about with that. I'm fine with the double big lineup because I think what the Knicks have to do this year, and I've seen some people in the chat talking about it. I see you've talked about it. They got to be better defensively. We can talk all we want about maximizing the offense, and they need to maximize the offense. I want to be clear. But what it's going to come down to in the playoffs, and you know this, Alex, the Knicks' two best offensive players in terms of the starting lineup are their worst defensive players. And the numbers with Cat and Brunson on the floor at the same time are not good, right? So one of the big challenges for Mike Brown is how does he hide that? Mitchell Robinson does atone for a lot of those mistakes that you have there. He can't cover everything, but Cat, against some of the fours he might go up against in the East, should be able to hold his own, right? Should be able to. For the most part, we're talking about the teams he's going up against, should be able to hold his own. Jalen Brunson with a better backline defender and Mitchell Robinson, that does help him. So it's Mitchell Robinson being in starting lineup helps cover those guys a little bit. It can't do it all, but it does help them from being worse defensively. Now, the thing is, when you do that, what are you losing offensively? Well, you're not able to play true 5-out you want to. Now, you never really did that because Josh Hart did not have the willingness to shoot. But with Cat there, it gives him a little bit better spacing. The reason I don't love it if Josh Hart's in the lineup is because I do not love having two. I'm going to call Josh Hart a non-shooter because of his hesitancy to shoot. I would say he's not willing to shoot totally like a Ben Simmons, right? But his hesitancy to shoot. So I don't generally like that with Mitch out there. That's not something I love offensively. Now, defensively, I do think you're a little bit better, but I do think the Knicks are going to try to be a much better offensive team. So, but here's the thing. I think we all do this. I'm guilty of this. We get way too caught up in who starts. What really matters is who's going to finish the games.
That's a
That's what
fact.
really matters. Like, Mitch could start, but it's like, what's your closing lineup going to be in a tight game? That's what I really want to know. And I do think that Mike Brown is the kind of coach that would tinker with and probably play some lineups where you have McBride playing down the stretch with some of the starters. We saw some great games last season. I think the Miami comeback was one of them that I think about down in South Beach that they had where Deuce played some really pivotal minutes down the stretch of that game. I think you can see that, and it's for me. It's about forget who starts. It's about who closes and how much lineup versatility are you willing to show and go with. Not necessarily like, okay, this is the lineup, I'm sticking to it. Just how versatile you're going to be with it. So that's the thing for me. Look, if Mitch starts, I'm fine. I'm not terribly opposed to that.
So shout out to our producer Daniel for putting up this this multiple choice questionnaire on the big screen on the jumbotron from Knicks Muse. Shout out to Knicks Muse. And it says, which lineup would the Knicks start with? Which lineup should the Knicks start with? A is Brunson, Bridges, Hart, OG, Cat, the original lineup that we saw. B, which is Brunson, Bridges, OG, Cat, Mitch, the lineup that has internal support. And then the last one, C, which is the one that you're talking about that you're intrigued of. Brunson, Deuce, Bridges, OG, Cat. And I see in the chat right now we are getting some love for C. So some people are intrigued by seeing Deuce McBride out there in the starting rotation. Now I get it. McBride, I know he had a little up and down of a regular season here, being in and out due to injury, but his 3-point shooting has come around in a massive way for this team. We've seen that in the postseason, especially last year when we played against the Sixers and in some spot moments against the Pacers. For me, is it a cop-out to say that I just want to, like, I'm actually kind of indifferent to how they start the season, man? I think for me, the way I look at this thing is that find the best thing that makes it work, all right? To what you want to do. And I think it also, for me, starts, what's the identity of the team? I'm cool with Mitch because under Tibbs, it's a defensive identity that he likes to bolster. And we didn't, trying to go offensive under him, that's not really his thing. I know in the past, even at his stop as a head coach with the Bulls, he's implemented parts of the triangle offense. He's had some success implementing that and having some good offensive runs, especially with Joakim Noah, who could run a good high post and knows how to pass. He had Derrick Rose on that team, Jimmy Butler too. He had a lot of guys who could score and just knew how to work the ball around. Not saying he didn't have it on this team, but I don't think with the way that the game has evolved to today's game that he was well equipped to actually adapt to today's game, which is why we saw, as you point out, a lot of the stagnant offense that we saw. But to me, what Mike Brown should go with is whatever his philosophy is. If you're telling me that you want to see the, high octane offense, right? And that's with either Josh Hart being in that starting rotation, Deuce McBride putting up a lot of threes, or saying, hey, we're going to work some pick and rolls to get Mitchell Robinson some lobs and really work him as a lob threat. Whatever you think you can get however you believe you can maximize the offense of this team and create that identity that you believe can take you to the promised land, go with that. That's how I feel about it. And some may say, Alex, that's a cop-out answer, but I think at the end of the day, Tibbs went with that starting rotation, one, because he didn't have Mitchell Robinson. And we know he talked about Mitch was the true starting center. But he's been a defensive coach. And so, it didn't match that's why the team, it was, for the most part, I don't know if you felt it. I've certainly felt it being up here. It's it was a lot of hate watching of this team. It's all right, man, we all know how this thing's going to end, even though we all didn't know how it was going to end. We went to the ECF. If you asked anyone, hey, could we make it to the ECF with this roster after how the regular season started to unfold? Everybody man, we had people talking about losing to the Detroit Pistons in round 1, getting waxed by the Celtics in the second round after we beat the Pistons. So no one knew how it was going to go, man. But to me, it's what's the identity of this team that will, and what are you trying to maximize? So if you're trying to run a very fast offense that Mike Brown's talking about, that might not be Mitchell Robinson in the starting 5. That might be more of a Deuce McBride thing. That could even be more of a Josh Hart thing, right? And so for me, I'm go with whatever you think is best to maximize what you want to do with this team.
Yeah, I don't think that's a cop-out answer. I think it's a fine answer because we don't know what the identity of this team is. And part of that is it's going to take some time. We're going to watch this through the first 15 to 20 games. What's the identity of this team? How do they come out? How do they respond to certain challenges? What happens when they get punched in the mouth? All that kind of stuff. You're going to tell where the thing I feel good about with this team, and I said this a lot of times on my show last year, is I thought this year's Knicks team, obviously I didn't know they were going to fire the coach and all this other stuff. I thought this season the Knicks team would be better than they were last season. So I thought it was going to take some time for them to go through some stuff last year and get more of that chemistry together. I think they're going to have the chemistry, but now they're changing the system. So there's still going to be an adjustment period for that. But I think because these guys have been around each other a little bit more, they've played together, second year for Cat, second year for Bridges, I think they're going to be okay as long as they buy into whatever the system is that Mike Brown is selling here. But you're right. You're 100% right. We don't know, and we'll see once we see this identity as team. But Mike Brown should. Uh, I think it's for any coach. You look at your team and you have to adjust. You look at this team and say, "Hey, how do I?" It's not just my philosophy, but how do I get the most out of this team? That's your job as a coach to me. Even as the roster changes, you come into a new roster, all that stuff. You gotta say, okay, how do I get the most out of this team? And listen, if it's Mitchell Robinson, cool. If it's Deuce McBride, cool. I tend to lean C, and I saw a lot of support with C in the chat. I think some people are looking at some of the numbers I saw, the on-off numbers with Deuce McBride in the starting lineup. It was good. I will caution and say it was a small sample. Now, you could sit here and say Tibbs should have used it a little more, so you could have had more of a sample size to decide off of that, and I think that's absolutely fair. But, like, here's my thing. For me with Mike Brown, like I said, lineup versatility, Alex. That's what I want to see. Lineup versatility and maximization. If this maximizes this, if you think it's good to start with this, but it's better to close with this, depending on the matchup, that's cool. I just want to see adjustments made when the time calls for it and use the data you have in front of you, which all these coaches look at to make informed decisions about your lineups.
Yeah, and I think even too with, as you brought up 5-out spacing, defense, and it's each team is different. Each game is going to be different. And look, I think the one thing I agree with Tibbs and how I ran the team last year is that you want to make sure guys know when they get into games, they get into like a rhythm. I do agree with that. And so I think who you start with should be somewhat set unless, you go through 20 games, you're like, hey, this is not working, and then you want to change it up. I agree with that. But I think for the most part, like the game's going to tell you, like, quote Tibbs, the game tells you what to do. Tells the coach what to do too, man, with like lineup changes, right? And so if you're playing a team that you can't, like, let's say the Knicks are having an off shooting night. All right, maybe tonight's the night to play more of a defensive lineup and play with more of a defensive edge, right? I think the versatility and like styles also is very important for this team too. But I think that's the other flexibility that I'm looking for the team. So we could talk about who starts, who closes, but at the end of the day, does the coach know how to maximize all the talent at the right time and just read how the games unfolds too? And so that's the trickiest part. I feel like it comes down to coaching. And that's where, if we're going to keep it real, and I'm going to throw a curveball for this one. We didn't have it on the docket, but are you worried about the offense a little bit? Because look, you got Brunson, you got Cat, those guys need to score. You got OG who he left Toronto because he wanted a larger offensive role, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's shown some, growth being an offensive player. Bridges, we're asking for more out of Bridges. Jordan Clarkson is going to ask for the rock, man. Like that's his game, right? Is there enough to go around? I mean, and Deuce McBride just shoot. Is there enough to go around for this team if we think in offensively?
I think there is if you're playing what we talked about, like a pretty diverse offense. And look, Jordan Clarkson, I think we've seen him on some bad teams in Utah, and the man likes to shoot. There's no doubt about that, right? There's no doubt about that. The man likes to shoot, but he is a highly efficient half-court scorer. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. He's in one of the high, I think it's like 96th percentile in terms of half-court scoring efficiency. The thing about him is this ain't Utah for a variety of reasons, and he's going to have to adjust his game. He's going to have to adjust his game. Alex, I'm actually not worried about him because I think in the structure of this team and what he's going to be asked to do in the second unit, I don't think he's going to be jacking like crazy. I really don't. I think he's going to understand that he has to play in the flow of the game, the structure. Now we're going to ask him to score. You needed somebody off the bench who you could put the ball in his hands, and go get some buckets. And I think even in some situations you could play him alongside Brunson, and that can be good. And I'm intrigued to see how some of that looks. But yeah, I'm actually the offense is not my worry on this team. It's the defense I'm more concerned about with the Knicks. I'm not really worried about the offense because I think the offense is going. I'm hoping so, but I also think the offense is going to look very different than the offense that we have watched the last 5 years. I really do. I think it's going to be more dynamic. I think there's going to be more opportunities for people to eat. And I think that's going to be better. That's why I'm not worried if there's enough to go around. I think you can see some players, this could even apply to Brunson. You can see some players, their numbers drop a little bit in terms of like points, but be way more efficient. And that's what I would be looking for. I think people focus way too much on points sometimes. Efficiency. I want to see our guys efficient. Is Deuce McBride put in a good situation to be efficient and shoot the ball well off the bench? Same for Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele, who's fantastic with above the break threes. The Knicks identified some needs they have on offense, particularly off the bench. And I do think they have upgraded in terms of their coach on offense. So now it just comes down to execution. I'm really not worried about they're big enough to go around. I'm more worried about when Cat and Brunson are on the floor together, can they get stops? That's more of my worry with this team.
That is going to be a big question entering the season. And Mike Brown, who, likes to focus on defense, can he get the most out of this team defensively and not be a turnstile, especially when you got Brunson and Cat sharing the floor? We'll see. We'll learn a lot, man, when October comes around. Salute to Knicks Nation. Thank you all for tuning in for another Knicks Weekly. With me on the other side is my guy, Dexter Henry. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button for your boy. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. All right. Salute to Knicks Nation for being in the chat. Shout out to all of our franchise channel members. All right. Dexter, let's get to a call. We got a call on the line. We got Yuri with us. Yuri, what's going on, man? See you here. Please unmute your mic. What's happening?
Yo, what's up? Nice to see everyone again.
Nice to hear your voice, man. Nice to hear from you, Yuri. How you feeling today, man? What are you thinking?
Good. Long day. Good. How I feel about the team so far, I'm not really worried about the assistant coaching. I trust in Leon Rose and the Knicks front office to get the coaching staff that they need before training camp. And have faith in Mike Brown into unlocking JB and Cat defensively. I placed my faith in Mike Brown just like I placed my faith in Tibbs. Even though we got to we gave Tibbs 5 years, we got to give Mike Brown the same respect, even if it's finals and bust. And I fully emphasize the finals and bust. Matter of fact, I've embraced the finals and bust. I do think we have to get to the finals this year. And I hate saying that. But if you look at how the East is, no Halliburton, no Tatum. The East is weak, but not too weak. You have the opportunity to get to the finals. This is a finals contender. And guys, let's admit, we're a second apron team. We're nearing that second apron.
Yeah.
If the Knicks don't make the finals this year, this team will get blown up, I feel like. So there's a lot riding on this season. A lot. Unless Mikal Bridges takes a friendly pay cut, that we also got that worry about that as well.
These are all
There's still
true
talks
facts.
of the Giannis trade. We don't know what's really happening with Giannis. I think it's bull crap, to tell you the truth. I don't think we're getting Giannis on this team. I've said that we're not getting
I think
Cat
that's a
on.
far stretch as well.
I've said we were going to get Cat on this team, but I got surprised with us being traded with that trade because the Knicks front office likes to keep stuff quiet. Overall, I've watched Mike Brown over the years in his stunt with Cleveland. We do have a lot of big players on his team, but I did point out to one thing that Yabusele said on a Roommates podcast. There's no egos on his team. So it might work out in favor of Mike Brown, right? I've noticed Mike Brown usually likes to run zone as well. So I think that would solve the Cat and JB dynamic. If anything, I would like to see some 5 out this year.
Okay. There you go. There you have it. Yuri, appreciate you for calling in, man. Appreciate the call. And thanks for always tapping in, my man.
Oh, of course, of course.
Thanks,
Now-
Yuri. Sorry,
Then now-
I got a little distracted. Mark Vientos hit a home run for the Mets, big grand slam. So like that. Sorry, man. It's that season, trade season. Got my eye on some Mets too. So
I'm a Yankee fan, man. So struggling over here, man. Struggling.
Yeah,
to,
I'm
to
gonna leave you.
game.
I'm gonna leave you alone on
Yeah,
that.
let's not talk about it, man. Look,
I won't even text you or CP about that. We won't talk.
no,
about
you can leave me alone, man. And let me tell you, it was about to go all south after day 2 of practice with the New York Jets. When you see across my timeline where you have Justin Fields says he's goes down with a contact injury, and then next thing you know, you see carted off in the retweet, and I'm like, 2 days in. Can't faster than Aaron Rodgers.
You had to have felt, and I had a couple of Jets friends text me. You had to know, like, you had to be like, man, this is some Jet stuff right here. Like, this is the most Jets thing. Every Jet fan I knew thought it was going to end badly. I mean, luckily Justin Fields is looking okay. But yeah, man,
jogging out there.
I think your Yankees will be fine. I really do.
It's par for the course, right? They go through a slump, they come back during the end, they do whatever they do, and then God knows what you get. God knows what you get in September and October from these guys. So who knows, man? It's always a wild ride being a Yankee fan at this point throughout the year, man. And TM is saying we should have ended the show after Dex came through with the Mets talk. All right.
Oh man, damn, tough crowd there, man. Tough crowd. You got too many Yankee fans in the chat. Okay.
Hey man. Well, you got some Mets fans in here. Okay, KG7 Fool is with you on that side. He is a Mets fan. All right, he's thrilled as well.
All right, KG.
Hey. All right, so
we deserve some happiness too. We deserve some happiness.
But shout out to Yuri and his call. Rate that call in the chat, man. 1 being trash, 5 being facts. How do you feel? He talked a lot, man. There was a lot that he dropped in there, especially said that the Knicks got to get to the NBA Finals this year.
Yeah,
that's scorching hot take, saying they got to do it this year or it's bust. Because to his point, they are getting close to that second apron. If they extend both he and Mitchell Robinson, or just one, look, they're going to be a second apron team, right? And before you invest all that money, you want to make sure that you can actually sustain some success by making a run for a chip. So, is he far off, Dexter? I'm going to ask you and the good people in the chat. Is Yuri far off saying that it is finals or bust this season?
So my thing with that is, and it's crazy because I think it was after the Mike Brown press conference, I was talking with my colleague Stephen Bondi about this, and I said, we were talking. We was like, well, what does finals or bust mean, and what's the consequences if the Knicks don't make the finals? Right? Like what happens? Is Mike Brown done? Are we firing Mike Brown? Like, are they blowing up the team? I think the latter is more likely because, like you just said, Yuri made a good point, though, with them being right at the second apron. There's some tough decisions they have to make, and there might be some tough decisions they have to make very soon. Do you extend Mikal Bridges now? I would say yes, but it's really less about Bridges to me than more it is about Mitch, because are you going to pay him? You could extend them through the 2029-2030 season. Is that something you want to do? You don't want to commit to that if you don't know the team is going to be able to compete for championships, And these windows right now with these aprons, the way this new CBA is and everything, the windows are short. And you're an injury or two away from doing what Boston had to do and stripping things down. And rightfully they did that. Because they were going to be a very expensive team that can't compete. That's the thing. What you don't want to be now is you don't want to be in the second apron when you don't have a championship team. And so this is why I would say this is a big year for the Knicks. I push back a little bit. I do think it's finals or bust, and the organization stated that even in the statement they put out when they fired Tom Thibodeau, and they were like, look, we think we have a championship team. All right. Well, now you got to go win a championship. The thing about that, though, is I'll push this, and I'm curious to see what you think and other people think. Let's say the Knicks lose in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final, and I'm not trying to put bad juju out there on anybody or anything like that. Let's say it's on a buzzer-beating shot. Or something crazy like what happened in Game 1.
I'm not even going to ask the team that you're thinking of that the Knicks are playing against because I don't even want to hear it. So, all right.
No, I'm not going to say the team. I'm not going to put any of that out there. Insert Team X. Whatever team you want to think it is. They lose on a heartbreaker on some lucky shot. Let's say there's some crazy bounce like we saw in game 1 with Halliburton, or what Kawhi Leonard hit on the Sixers years back.
Mm-hmm.
Is that season a failure? Like, I always feel like there's got to be nuance and context and stuff. If something crazy happens. Now, I also add this. If in the game 7, they blow like a 14-point lead with like 3 minutes to go, that's another bit of context. Because it's like, how do they lose? I think all that stuff matters. I said the same thing when it came to the Knicks in the playoffs last year. I said how they played against Boston would mean a lot towards Tom Thibodeau keeping his job. Now, I was wrong because they played good enough and beat Boston, and Tom Thibodeau still lost his job. But the reason Tom Thibodeau lost his job wasn't really about them winning or losing Boston. It was about his inability to be flexible with the lineups. That's really the reason that cost him his job. So to me, it's I'm not trying to give a cop-out answer here. It's just that I think, yes, it is finals or bust, but if they do lose before that, it's about how they lose, when they lose. Listen, I'm going to keep it a buck. If the Knicks lose in the first round, it is a massive failure. Massive failure. Failure of epic proportions. If the Knicks lose in the second round, it's an absolute disappointment. No doubt about it. If the Knicks lose in the conference finals, and let's say they get swept, also an absolute disappointment, right? They lose on some buzzer beater. No, I don't think so. Disappointing, but not absolute disappointment, right? They blow a lead in the game 7 or something. Very disappointing. Coaching probably will be questioned. Although I think people do too much with that sometimes. Players have agency. They got to go out and execute. They got to get the job done. Coaches do have to try to put them in the best positions to succeed. So I really think it's about how the season goes. But I'm going to come back to what the front office said in that statement. They are the ones who said, we have a championship team. I'm paraquoting, and I hope I didn't mess up the quote there. But if they said we believe we have a championship team, that sounds like the mandate is we expect to get to the finals. Now, I also will add this. As a Knicks fan, or if you're covering the team or whatever it may be, you have to respect that. I like that the Knicks are saying that. I also like that the Knicks made a move and said, hey, we think this got us as far as we can go. We think this roster is more talented than that. We need somebody to take us to the next level. I respect that they did that. It would have been easy for them to stand pat and run it back. Been real easy for them to do that. They didn't do that. And when you're rooting for a team, you want your team to go for it and say, hey, the expectation right now is to win a championship. Because Knicks fans out here, you remember what it was like 6 years ago. It was not good.
Not pretty.
So now you got to embrace everything that's with it. Now it's go time. They're saying championship or bust. Embrace it. This is what you wanted as a fan. You don't want the 17-win season. You want the time where it's like, yo, we expect to compete for a title and get to the NBA Finals. Is it a little more stressful? Sure, I get that. But would you rather the stress or be at the bottom of the league? The stress of saying, hey, we got to make it to the finals, or be like, we're not playing for anything but the lottery. Nah, it's a no-brainer. So, but I think it's about what happens if they don't make the finals. That's the big thing for me. I tend to agree with Yuri. I think the team would get blown up because it would start to become too expensive. And I have to say, in today's NBA, probably would be the right move. You probably have to blow it up, restructure around Brunson, and keep things moving. Probably the right move.
Oof. Hey, look, I think when they assembled this team, it was always you got this team for 4 years, really 3, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to see, like, this is going to be a very important year. And then next year, depending on how this year goes, would be the final year. Because then it's like, all right, everyone, like, we're talking about end of the deals. We're talking about people being in their 30s. How far can they go back? Now we got to think about how does the future actually look? There's a lot more in question to how this team is actually constructed for the fourth year of the iteration of this team with Cat, Brunson, Hart, Bridges, and OG. Because, look, you're paying guys a lot of money, man. And if they're underperforming those prior 2 years, why do you continue to keep these guys? You got to trade them, get them for their max value that they are. So I agree with that. And to the quote, just so that we have it out there, it's our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for the fans. This pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. So, to your point, it's saying, hey, we believe that we can win a championship. Point blank.
Yeah.
Period. It's word salad, but that's essentially what they're saying. They said, hey, we got very close with this coach. We should have gone even further. We're going to find somebody that could take us even further. And so that's why it's even interesting with Yuri when he said Mike Brown should get the same 5. I don't even think he gets 5 years, man, personally. All right.
Some of y'all ain't going to give him 5 days.
5 minutes is not even going to be enough for something.
Yeah. He can, no, because that's my point though, Alex, right? Like there's context to everything, right? Like in an ideal world, you want to give every coach 5 years, but where Tom Thibodeau started at the beginning of a rebuilding process and getting this team to where it were is very different than where Mike Brown is starting from. So both things are not the same. It's not the same situation. Mike Brown is coming in with a roster that is expected to go to the NBA Finals, that thinks they're a championship contender. Tom Thibodeau did not start with that. So if Mike Brown, and I don't think it'll be a year for him because I think that's a bit. But
no, I don't think it'll be 1 year.
But I think in 2 years, like you said, I do think next year, depending on what happens this year, I think this year's a very important moment in Knicks history and what happens this year, right?
Yes.
And I feel like I'm not being overly dramatic by saying that, but
You're not.
but I think
I'm thinking
yeah.
I'm thinking he only gets 2 years, man, personally. I think how this year goes and next year goes, Mike Brown only gets 2 years.
Now,
I don't even care how long the length of the contract is. It's 2 years. It's going to be shut up or put up these next 2 years, and that's it.
If he gets to the finals this year and loses, I think that might even buy him another year on top of that.
That gets him one more year for sure.
It gets him one more year. I think if he loses, and again, I always like context, how he loses. If let's say he gets to the Eastern Conference Finals and loses on a heartbreaker, I think he'll be fine. But the I don't want to call it the hot seat, but you're turning on the grill a little bit. Honestly, man, the grill's already on. Let's be real. Like the coals are starting to be lit for Mike Brown. Well, I think this is a 2-year thing. I'm with you on that. I think what happens this year is so important to because if he gets to the finals and loses, it will not be a hot seat, but people are going to be looking like, all right, what does this team got to do to like now win it all? Can they get back there and win it all? And I always try to say this in sports. I think I understand this more and more as I cover sports and do all this stuff. And the fans know this too that are watching. You know this, Alex. It is hard to win. I don't think people understand how hard it is to win. It is hard to get to a conference finals. It is hard to get to an NBA finals. Sometimes you get there and you never get back. Knicks hadn't been there in 25 years to the conference finals or the NBA finals. You don't know. There's no guarantee. You don't know that the Knicks are going to be back in the conference finals. I think they should, based on how things are broken out in the East. But there's a long way between now and June, and May and June. There's next May and June. There's a long way to go. You got to hope things break your way. You got to hope guys are healthy. You got to hope there's depth. Maybe some other things break your way. I think that just there's so much nuance to this. Mike Brown is going to be on the hot seat. There's going to be some fans, if he loses 3 games in January, that are going to be like, get him out of here. But I'm going to say what I said at the top. The regular season stuff, man, it's going to be about what he does in the playoffs, what this team does in the playoffs. That's all that matters right now for the Knicks. And that'll make the regular season boring for some Knicks fans. And I understand that. But this is where we are. It's about what this team does in the playoffs, man.
It's the expectation, man. When you get to this level, it's all about the expectations. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. It's tough to even say that for a coach who just got a job. All smiles, said the right things, but that's just the unfortunate part of the situation is that these guys are locked in, and it's going to be tough, man. It is going to be tough. The pressure for this postseason is going to be interesting. And I'm just going to reference a team that we saw do it in 2024 with the Boston Celtics, right? Think about how they get the roster that they had in 2022, lose to the Warriors. You don't make it back the next year. You then make it the year after that, and now look, you dismantle the thing. They thought they were going to have a dynasty. Everything changes in the blink of an eye, and that's the one thing too. Everything changes in the blink of the eye in sports, and we have no idea how it's going to unfold. We know the expectations. Obviously, that comes with, is everyone healthy? It'll be interesting, man. The season ends.
See, I'm gonna have so much.
To see it.
I'm gonna have so much fun watching the post games with you guys.
Oh man,
or hopping on with you guys, because the fan base, you know, I love the, you know, obviously I do a lot of fan base. Grew up a Knicks fan, so I understand the passion, but y'all gonna be so stressed, man. Y'all, like,
I'm gonna need therapy. I'm gonna need another KFTV post game show for myself to go watch. That's what I'm gonna need to call into. That's what I need.
I want to try. I want to tell. Like, I'm trying to tell fans, man. Like, you gotta enjoy this ride because of what you just said, Alex. You don't know how long it's gonna last. You have to enjoy this. You have to find some ways to enjoy the process of the team build, of them trying to get to the top of the mountain. I hope there's not more heartbreak. Look, I understand game one, that was a heartbreaker against the Pacers. Heartbreaker. It's one of the most heartbreaking losses in Knicks history. But you gotta enjoy the ride and try to enjoy as much of it as you can, and watch this team try to develop during the regular season and build good habits and put it together and hopefully stay healthy. You know, but I think Knicks fans want it so bad, and they could taste it, and it's so close, Alex. Yeah, I mean,
Dexter, it's right there, man. I mean, come on, bro. I know. We haven't seen. I haven't seen a title at all. I haven't
seen a title.
You haven't seen a title. Nah. My pops, God rest his soul, saw both of them in the 70s.
Yeah.
All right. He was there for 73. All right. He was there for when the Jets won, the Knicks won. All right. He was the Yankees fan. He saw all the Yankees chips. My dad was there for that. I don't got any of that stuff, man. Outside of the Yankees winning some World Series. I need to see this. I know we're that close. Now the fan cap is coming on. I need to see it, man. We're right there. We're right there. And if you're, you know what I'm saying? Well, you could be bold and brash. You're looking at the Pacers right now and seeing how they're not there, man. The injuries, Celtics, once again, we talk about all the injuries. It's right there, bro. It's right there. And then if you want to even say, hey, you want to go to even the utmost optimistic route, you got the medical staff that kept OG Anunoby healthy, all right? What could they do with Mitchell Robinson for a full season? I'm just saying, man.
Look,
it's right there.
I get it.
It's right there.
I get it. It's right there. They were 6 wins away last year, 2 wins away from the finals. I get it. There's nothing I want to see more. Trust me. I'm with you. But you gotta. I'm imploring this for people. You gotta let the process be the process. No Sixers, but you gotta let the process be the process here, and try to see the beauty in this season and where they're going. I think the Knicks, when you look at where they were 6 years ago, Alex, I think that Leon Rose and company has done a really good job of building this team and making some shrewd moves. I think they do deserve a lot of credit. But I'm saying all this with a caveat. This is the hardest part, especially because of the fact that you changed the coach. And look, they knew when they made that move that was going to come with a lot of scrutiny. I'm not saying that. I think there should be ways we praise them for having the guts to make that move.
Mm-hmm.
But here's when you do it, you got to be right. You got to be right, man. You got to be right. You got to be right, because if they're not and it's wrong, and I'm not saying that it will be, you got to be right in these players. You got to be right. It's not just the coach, it's the players. Players got to execute. How's Cat better in the postseason? How's Brunson better in the postseason? Can those guys be any better defensively? Do they have a better coach to put them in? So all these questions will be answered. I get why the Knicks fan is nervous, but you wanted these nervous days. This is what you wanted. You talked about you've been waiting to see him win a championship. Rest in peace to your pops. I know he felt nervous since 70 and 73. I'm sure he did. But you want that. You want that chance to win, to feel what you're feeling. It was so fun to watch him in the playoffs last year and see high stakes games that matter. But this I will say, this probably will be the first year since 1994. So I'm going back. This is probably the most pressure a Knicks team has had since 94, 95. Because you can say the teams after that had pressure when Jordan came back, and then even 99, the Knicks were playing with house money as an 8 seed. That's not the same. This is like 94, 95, where it's like, yo, we expect you to win. But you want that. You gotta love it. But I know why it's so nerve-wracking, because like you said, it's so close, bro. So it's right there. It's right there.
We're talking about really on the margins. As mentioned, front offices now put themselves in the light when you fire the head coach, because you gotta say, hey, it's not this guy. Players are fine. We just need a new guy. He'll get us there. And if it's not, there's just so many what ifs, man. There's so many what ifs. We can go down the rabbit hole of like, what if this could be on the front office, players getting traded, all this, that, and the third. There's a lot to talk about. All right. There's a lot to talk about, but that's why I love it, man. This is the pressure. This is where you want to be at. This is truly where you want to be at. I wouldn't trade this for anything, man. This is where you want to be at, but it's right there, Dexter. It's like,
but it's so close.
Right,
it's so close.
Oh, man. Salute to the Knicks Nation. Thank you all for tuning for another Knicks Weekly. With me on the other side is my guy, Dexter Henry. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button for your boy. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Make sure to support our other sponsor, SeatGeek. People, let me tell you something about SeatGeek. You're looking for tickets. You're trying to go to any venue, trying to watch a concert, you're trying to go to a Knicks game. Hey, Knicks, trying to get to Madison Square Garden, man. It is pricey, all right? It is pricey. So you know what you got to do? You got to go to SeatGeek. And what do? They give you the green light if it's good to go, and they give you the red light saying, hey, don't buy this. Look in another direction. So SeatGeek is here to help make the ticket buying experience that much easier. So that's why you got to support our sponsor and use that promo code KFTV10 to get 10% off your tickets. Remember, green means good to go. Red means bad. Stop. Go in a different direction. So use the #1 rated app. And when it comes to purchasing your tickets, that is SeatGeek. Make sure to use the promo code KFTV10 to get 10% off your tickets. All right, man. Trying to get to Madison Square Garden, expensive, man. I need you to be back, but yo, hey, Mr. Dolan, can we just knock it down a little bit, just a little bit,
Tickets,
all right,
a little bit. That ain't happening,
man.
though. You know,
daycare's expensive. Car insurance, my rent's expensive. Like, come on, man. Can I just go out and enjoy the night? Can I, please? Just a little bit, man. That's what I'm asking for.
It's tough. It's tough, man. Knicks
tough out in the streets.
Knicks ticket prices is tough, especially when they're good. Whew.
Especially when they're good. Especially when they're good. All right, Dexter. We got one more topic to discuss.
Let's do it.
And we're gonna wrap this show up. Get on out of here. And you know what the topic is? It's everyone's favorite character, man. If you told me this, like, I don't know, what, 10 years ago? Maybe it's somewhere between 7 to 10 years ago. People would probably be thrilled if this guy was mentioned in free agency talks and what this, that, and the third. We're back. We're back again. Talked about with CP last week. We're back talking about Ben Simmons, man. Ben Simmons. I know some of y'all out there want him on the team, talking about the playmaking, the versatility defensively. I personally don't want him on this team just because I don't want the drama and the uncertainty of injury. Will he be there? Will be bought in? I'm good on all that. And I don't need Ben Simmons on this team. But to paraphrase, and shout out to Sean Devney of Heavy.com and Athlon Sports. All right. Essentially saying that Ben Simmons has the Knicks as like the last option of where he wants to go. And partially due to that is because of the pressure of playing in New York City, man. Playing for the New York Knicks. And I get it. You gotta be willing to be scrutinized every single night. Playing in New York. And Sean Devney of the Athlon says that of the places, he spoke to a GM, and this is what the GM said that Devney spoke with. He said, of the places he being Ben Simmons could land, they'd be the Knicks would be at the bottom of his list. They're the long shot. He does not want the scrutiny, and they want to have room to use the whole roster. That's one reason they got rid of Tom Thibodeau. If you're bringing in a veteran who is hurt half the season, it's going to prevent you from seeing what you've got with your young guys. So, That's what Sean Devaney reported based on the GM that he spoke to. I'm fine with not getting Ben Simmons. Shout out to CP. He reported that there was a long shot in the New York Knicks going out there and getting Ben Simmons. This is just, a GM talking and essentially emphasizing what CP already reported last week and the unlikeliness of Ben Simmons joining the Knicks. Even Steve Popper came out and said there's not a high likelihood of Ben Simmons joining the Knicks as well. I'm fine with it, man. I don't need Ben Simmons on this team. I get the intangibles that we're talking about 10 years ago. It's too much, man. Too much. I not with this team. This team, you got to make sure that locker room's right.
There's so much here, man. Do you know how mad I would be if Leon Rose and company could be mad if Ben Simmons is the one telling me that he doesn't want me to play here? You couldn't cut it in Philly. You didn't cut it in Brooklyn. You're afraid to shoot. You don't shoot. You don't shoot. You can't shoot. You won't shoot. You don't want any contact. And you're out here saying the Knicks are at the bottom of your list? I understand Ben Simmons could still play defense solidly. He is not like an all-NBA defender. I understand he can help rebound and pass the ball. But he's a non-shooter. The Knicks don't need a third non-shooter on this roster. Fourth, if you count Al Purdy. They don't need that. Why? I never liked the idea of Ben Simmons coming to the Knicks. I thought it was terrible. I don't like it. Don't think he's a good fit. And I don't think he's built to play in New York. Point blank, period. I just don't think he's built to play in New York. I don't know why there are even some fans that want him. I think they like the idea of Ben Simmons.
The idea is exactly right.
The idea of Ben Simmons or what he was is so long gone. And if you watched any of him with the Clippers last year, this is a guy who was not getting into the paint when he had the ball, would not shoot the ball. You can play off him. He won't shoot. He's afraid of contact. I know Mikal Bridges had issues with that too, but not quite the same. And no, just an absolute stone cold no. But I would be mad if Ben Simmons is the one telling me that he doesn't want to come here, as if we don't know who he is. You're Ben Simmons. What are we talking about?
Oh man,
come on.
It is.
Come on.
I can't, man. I just it's hilarious when you even say that. I know that the GM said, but to even have the words out there, be like New York is the last place. It's like you're telling me you wouldn't want to join a championship type roster. Who are you? You haven't made it out of the second round.
Yeah. All right. I mean, the better question is what should the Knicks do with the final roster spot with the veterans minimum? I think that's interesting. My colleague Stephen Bondi had reported that they would likely be interested in another ball handler. I thought that was interesting. So a guy like Malcolm Brogdon, I think, could have been really interesting for them. I just wonder how Brogdon feels about what his role would be and what his minutes might be in that situation. I do think Landry Shamet is somebody else who deserves consideration for that spot. Because I think there's ways Mike Brown could utilize him, whether it's as a specialist, off some curls and dribble handoff actions that I think could work actually really well for him as a shooter. So those are some guys I'm thinking about. I mean, the ball handler market, man, your cat is active, Alex. He is
my
active.
cat likes
he or she, sorry.
Yeah, he likes to be part of the action, man.
Yeah, he likes to be part of the action. There's Marcus Smart is now off the market. There were some other ball handlers that were there. I wouldn't be mad if the Knicks. I think there's also a world in which they could look at maybe another big. Thomas Bryant, I believe, is still out there. I know Amir Coffey was a guy I had talked about them possibly using the taxpayer mid-level on at the start of the offseason, and now he's probably line to get vets minimum. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think ideally the Knicks need another ball handler, or they might want to invest in some size. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. I thought they would have signed somebody, but this may take a little bit more time into August. Brogdon, I think, would be a nice option. I wouldn't mind having Brogdon. The thing with him is he's always hurt. He gets hurt a ton.
He does.
But this is where we are in the offseason. There's not a lot of great options and great teams out there. I also wonder if the Knicks maybe don't sign somebody and just keep that spot open, start to see. It'll be interesting what they do.
I've been
Yeah,
asking
it'll be very
for
interesting.
I've been asking for Malcolm Brogdon this offseason, just for needing another guy who can create for himself, another guy who can be a playmaker. We've seen that throughout his career, whether it be in Milwaukee, in Indiana. He's more than capable of doing that. Even in Boston, we saw he did that when he won Sixth Man of the Year. We know he's capable of doing that. Obviously, has an injury history. If I were to be in the front office and sell Malcolm Brogdon, why he should join this roster, it's that when you look at the depth of this team, he would surely get the 10th spot. He wouldn't have to play, every single night, potentially risking injury, but there would be nights that he would get extensive run, and I think he would have a good, strong veteran presence based on what he's seen. I mean, he was part of that Celtics team too, so being part of a great roster is also a great experience to have on the team. So I think for him, you could sell him in that aspect, whereas as of right now, he's just hopped around from bad team to bad team. Been in Portland, now he's been in DC. Like, who's the next team that's going to take him? And I think for him, he should want to be part of a roster that is capable of getting potentially to the NBA Finals, right? Going after a ring at this point of his career. I know Fred Katz was on the show with CP, and he said some people around the league believe that he still has some juice left in him, and I don't disagree with that. But it's also what team is willing to utilize him in that role and say, hey, we'll be healthy for all the regular season and postseason, rely on you. Maybe that's what he wants, but I think there's a reality check that he may have to check, saying, at this point of my career, do I need to be that guy? Or should I just be a guy that, offers a lot to a team that needs a veteran and needs a voice and needs a presence that when I come off the bench, I can just organize and keep everything afloat, even if Brunson has to miss some time, if Clarkson's not playing on a certain night, or somebody else, like, he will go out and get his. And I think another thing that should be sold for this, that it's not Tom Thibodeau. We're not looking at guys playing, 80 minutes. I know I'm being hyperbolic, right? I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but I'm saying, like, no one's going to be playing every single night. No one's going to be playing, the heavy minutes that Tom Thibodeau did. You're not winning. You're not trying to win the regular season. You're thinking about the postseason. And so to do that, it's not the ultra load management that's constantly promoted throughout the league, or where guys are, missing like marquee games. But I think the team could take a little step back, where saying, okay, you know what, why don't you heal up tonight? We got somebody else that can go out there. They should get a little bit more extended run, because, we are playing a Charlotte Hornets tonight. We are playing insert another bad team. Maybe the Pelicans, right? We are playing the Pelicans. You don't got to go. We don't have to go that hard tonight, all right? We can take a breather. And I think that's another way that you can sell to Malcolm Brogdon to join the team. So I would be for Malcolm Brogdon. Keep Ben Simmons far away from this team, far as possible. Don't need no drama. Don't need no question.
Nope.
Is he going to play tonight? Does he feel like playing? And, like, I just don't need that, man. Do not need that whatsoever. Is there anybody else? Because I know you brought up Shamet, and he'd be a fine.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Shamet. I'd be fine with Shamet.
Thinking of?
I mentioned Amir Coffey, who I'd be fine with as well. I wouldn't be fine if they wanted to add to some big man depth, especially if they start the double bigs. I think a lot will tell you two things, like what they plan to do with the starting lineup. They might say, okay, we have Hawkporty, but do we need to add like another veteran big man on this team? And they could get somebody like a Thomas Bryant who could come in, and he might be fine being the big man behind Hawkporty just for some insurance, because they only have 3, and if you start 2, and we know Mitch is prone to get hurt. Or maybe the training staff will be able to keep him healthy. We'll see. Any other names I'm trying to think that come to mind right now?
I see people are talking about Kevin Love in the chat. We got Westbrook out there. Any of those names?
No.
Gary Payton second.
That's a name I like. Thanks somebody brought it up, because I actually brought Gary Payton the second up earlier, another offseason video I did. I like him. I think he's good. I know he's a 6'4" guard, got some bounce, fantastic defender. I like a little defensive spark plug off the bench, which he shot the ball a little bit better from 3. But I wouldn't be mad at Gary Payton II. I see the role he can fulfill off the bench to help. I'm not mad at. I wouldn't be mad at that at all either. Someone said Trey Lyles here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind. Another big who plays some 4-5 can stretch the floor. Not a good defender, but
some familiarity with Mike Brown as well out in Sacramento.
Yep. I wouldn't be mad at that. Trey Lyles, I wouldn't be mad at it either. Listen, I think with this guy, it's going to be a lot of what you said, Alex. It's a guy who could come in, can know his role, will be comfortable being the 10th man. Is going to come in and play some nights to give somebody a rest. Because if you have Trey Lyles, you can now give some more looks. You could play him at the 5. You could play him next to Yabusele. I do not love that defensively, but you can do that. You can mix and match in some ways. I'm not opposed. I think it really comes down to a lot of it. What they sign is going to tell you. If they sign a guard, I don't know. Maybe that tells me they're not going with McBride in the starting lineup. Maybe they are. If they sign, I think if they sign another big, it definitely tells me they're going with 2 bigs in the starting lineup and no McBride. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do. But I like some of the names that people have put out there. Trey Lyles is one I thought about. Gary Payton, I like. But I think it was me. If I was running the show, I think I'd go Malcolm Brogdon. Now, my only thing is, you go and sign Brogdon, does that block any opportunities for when it comes for Tyler Kolek to get some more of his development? And I know people are down on what they saw from Kolek in Summer League. I get it. But, I mean, I think the Knicks young players have the best pathway to getting some minutes next year, Dadier and Hakordi anyway. I think it still was going to be a long shot for Kolek. He needs a little bit more seasoning and time down in the G League. But, maybe you would have liked Kolek to grab that 10th spot. But, yeah, we'll see. Or maybe the Knicks stand pat. They might stand pat here. I don't think they will. I think they will add a roster, add one last guy, because you always need some depth. But I think they'll add somebody, and I think they will go with another guard who can handle the ball. And provide some scoring. Brogdon feels like a good fit. It's just, does he get it done, and does he want more playing time elsewhere? That's the key.
That's the big question, man. Those are the big questions. But hey, I think this is a good place to end it, Dexter. I think this is a good place to end our conversation for Knicks Weekly. And appreciate you coming through, my man. Appreciate you help me break down this Knicks offseason. I know it's a little quiet right now, but we still get some rumblings here and there that we gotta discuss.
Yeah,
man. So
yeah, it's always good to talk Knicks, man. Any time of the year, man, especially with you. So I appreciate you for having me on. To the KFT family, always salute to you and CP and JD and everybody involved. Behind the scenes, appreciate y'all all the time. Appreciate the fans. Because so much of the community is still here. We all do share content and do stuff together, and it's dope. So thank you, bro. Appreciate you for having me.
Of course, man. Please let the listeners know where they can find you. If you got any work up and coming, we should be on the lookout for as well.
Yeah, you can find me on all platforms at D Henry TV. Catch me hosting NewYork.Game. We usually drop days. Dropping a new episode tomorrow. Lee Escobedo of Knick of Time Show is on with me. We're talking about what the Knicks should do with extensions for Mikal Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, and Karl-Anthony Towns, who's also extension eligible, added him. So we talk a little bit about that, along with some of the stuff we talked about there. So check out that episode. That drops at noon tomorrow. And then we'll have some other stuff coming up through the offseason. Some more fan mailbag questions, some more deep dives into. I'll be doing some stuff looking at how Brunson and Cat can be used in Mike Brown's offense and how it might look. Compared to what we saw with Fox's bonus. I have some stuff coming around there. And then also how they could possibly utilize some of the young players. We'll have something coming on that later. We got some good stuff. And then something else I'm working on with a little bit of fun for the fans, where we're going through some of the best Knicks players of all time. I got some stuff working on that. We got to do what we got to do to get through these dog days of summer, man. We got to do what we got to do. So check it out. And for the Mets fans out there, if you're watching, I know you're a Yankee fan, but Straight Outta Flushing also drops every Monday. Mets show. Check that out as well too. It's pretty good.
Straight Outta Flushing. Wow. Yeah. There we go. All right.
Yeah. You don't like the title?
Hey, the title's cool, man. I get where you're coming. I get where you're coming from with it. All right. I get it. It's just I'm not a Mets fan, so.
Understood.
Could have been straight out of the Bronx to make it a little more appealing to me.
I'll try. Maybe I'll get them to change the name of our Yankee show on the New York Post Sports Channel. I mean, I'll see what they can do.
All right, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. See, this is why we got to have some pull with the New York Post over here. We get Dexter in here. You know, got to make some title changes.
Yeah, man. We might do some things. I'm gonna have to talk to the people over there. But like, Alex needs straight out of the Bronx for the Yankee show. We'll see what we can do.
That's what I need, man. That's what I need. But appreciate you as always, Dexter. Appreciate you as always. And so it's the Knicks Nation for tapping in once again. All right. Appreciate Knicks Nation for being here on a Monday night, midnight on the East Coast, man. So for some of you that got to go to work the next day, appreciate you for staying up late and tapping in with us. All right. We got the franchise channel members in here. Salute to all you as always. I saw, hey, JJ. There's a regular that came out of nowhere. I see he's talking trash to Yankee fans in the chat. You know, and I appreciate that, JJ. You're my guy, man. We're Jets fans. We're Knicks fans. I appreciate it. Come on, man. What are we doing over here? What are you doing over here, man? Appreciate you. So appreciate you. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to K-Dot in here as well. Shout out to everyone for coming through. Remember to support our sponsors, Wayfair. Make sure you go to wayfair.com. Go buy your outdoor furniture, lawn games, grills, whatever you need just to spruce up the backyard. And make sure to support our other sponsor, SeatGeek, all right? Use that promo code KFTV10 to get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Well, Madison Square Garden, expensive as is. Try to, reduce the cost any way possible. So make sure to support our sponsors. You already know what to do. Make sure to tap into the newsletter. Shout out to all the writers. We got KFTV Jalen, Jeff, Remy, all right? Chris LeBron, all right? We got Omar out there doing the damn thing as well. So make sure to go support those guys and what they do over at the newsletter. Shout out to our producer Daniel for tonight. Shout out to Gamba. Shout out to Tyler for doing the damn thing as well. Appreciate everyone for coming through as always and for the hard work we do to put this losing my words here at this moment, man. But shout out to everyone that comes through to help put this show together. And shout out to TM as well, man. Chief Modern Operation doing the damn thing in the chat, keeping you all engaged and active. Shout out to you as well, my guy. So you already know what it is. Make sure to stay tapped in. Hit that thumbs up button for your boys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And we out.
Peace.